Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with my dog. This is Bruno. He's a licker. He's trying to get in my seat right now, so just, ignore that. Sorry the background isn't like super pretty, but you know what? Actually, I'm not apologizing for anything because this is my channel and it can look how it wants. And I think I just had to say that because a big reason that I have not filmed consistently is because I always feel like things have to be perfect, and they don't have to be perfect. So let me just stop apologizing right off the bat. But today we're doing something different. Y'all know what this is. So I ain't even gonna say much, but we're gonna have a really good conversation, I believe. And I think that it's just definitely a topic that I've been wanting to talk about on my channel for a little while now. And so let's go ahead and talk about it. So today I'm going to be talking about my spiritual beliefs and just like my upbringing, and basically, I guess it's those two things, like my spiritual beliefs and my upbringing. And I just think that a lot of people will be able to relate, or if they don't relate, well, now you guys know my spiritual beliefs. So yeah. So growing up, I grew up in a Pentecostal home. For the beginning portion of my life, I lived with my grandparents who were very, very religious, very heavily involved in church. My grandpa is actually a preacher. My grandmother is a minister. So staying with them, all I knew was Christianity, Pentecostal Christianity at that. If you guys aren't familiar with like the Pentecostal denomination, I have heard that people believe that it's very strict. Growing up, I didn't think that it was that strict. Like, it didn't feel super strict to me. Growing up, it just felt like what I was supposed to be doing. Looking back, I can say like it was a little strict. I feel like it helped mold me into the person that I am today. Things that I remember not being able to do is I couldn't like have my nails painted when I was younger. I remember that my clothes were bigger and longer. I didn't really wear the same type of things that other kids wore around me. Not to say that I dressed like a nun, because I didn't, but I do remember in elementary school wearing like really long skirts and stuff like that, and people used to have things to say about that. But fuck them, this video is not about them, it's about me. Hold on, I need to get the light. Also, I got the natural hair out, so y'all can see that. But like I said, growing up, I grew up in a Pentecostal home, and it was just, it just was what it was. Like, I didn't know life other than going to church at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings and going to choir rehearsal on Tuesdays and going to Bible study on Wednesdays. Like, that's the life that I knew. I grew up knowing God to be a white man with like long brown hair and blue eyes, like a lot of people that I know. So I didn't begin to really question anything until I went to 6th grade. In 6th grade, I went to a Catholic private school. Now, even though these were both like sectors of Christianity, they were different enough for me to start to have doubts in what I believed. So the thing with Catholicism was, I don't know, it was just the service. The whole service was different because you had to go to Mass when you went to church there, when you went to school there. And so the service was just completely different. There wasn't this charismatic preacher. There wasn't all of these uplifting songs. Like you're singing out of a hymn. There's the priest, and it's like so. I don't know. It was just different. Like I remember whenever we would walk into church, we would have to kneel, like when we got to the altar, and like do the sign of the cross in front of the altar. And it was just things that were different for me. I'm not saying that one was wrong, one was right. They were just different. So when I got into that environment, naturally, like I just started to question which one is right. Because the thing with Christianity, well, the representation of Christianity, I should say, is very, we are right, everybody else is wrong. And there's this separation almost, which is why there's so many damn denominations to start with. There's this separation between the church, my church, this church, you know, metaphorically speaking, and the outside, the world, you know, everybody else. We're good, they're bad. And so when you are taken from one church, Pentecostal, which Pentecostal, I guess you could compare to Baptist, Pentecostal, Holiness, Baptist, they're all like kind of similar. What my church services were like, they were long as hell. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be funny. They were long. There was a charismatic preacher. It was upbeat music. There were offerings. I think most churches have offerings, but it was just, I mean, a celebration. I would say it was like a celebration. And you go to church and you get this word, you get this message, and most people go on about their day, like going about their lives. And there were a lot of people involved in the actual service. When I went to a Catholic church, it was the priest. He was the main man, you know. Nobody really talked but the priest. If there was songs sung, from what I remember, there was either like a choir, which even the choir, like you couldn't see the choir from where you were sitting. The choir would have been like above you. So it's like all of the attention is on the priest. And overall, the service was a lot more like reverent. And I'm skeptical using that word because I don't want to make it seem like one was more spiritual or one was more impactful, because it wasn't. What I'm saying is it was a lot, it was quieter. It was like the energy in the room was just very serious. Whereas, not to say that church wasn't serious, like Pentecostal Baptist church wasn't serious. It was just a little bit lighter. Like, it was like you're coming to church to uplift. You're coming to church to... It's so weird because it's like, and I'm getting frustrated. I think this is why people get frustrated with denominations in church in general, because it's like the purpose is all the same. And at the core of what it is, like we're all doing the same thing. But it's just like the way that we do it is a little bit different. And I think that's why somebody like me, like I get frustrated, because I'm like, all these different denominations are just different churches that decided to put more focus on one side of the Bible than the other. Okay? So anyway, going back to just Christianity as a whole. As a Christian, I always had this idea in my mind of Jesus as a white man. And it was never like consciously, like I don't think anybody, because you can ask black people, I've seen Black people respond to this question and say like, oh, Jesus doesn't have a color. Like, I've even heard somebody say Jesus was clear. How was Jesus clear? He was a man. He was a human. You believe that he walked the earth in a human body, but won't even associate him with the color. Why is that? Because you ask white people if Jesus was white, and they're gonna say yes. They're gonna say yes. Like, so why can't we associate ourselves with, like, why cannot we even, we just can't even, some people can't even just see him as black. Because historically speaking, like, I'm not gonna give y'all a history lesson right now, but in every single historical aspect, it's like evident that Jesus was a black man. Does it matter? Does it matter? No, like, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying, when I say does it matter, like, I'm not saying that because he was black, he was better. I'm just saying the man was black. Like, we can just give him that he's black. It's a fact. It's not, and that doesn't mean that that takes him away from white people or that Jesus is ours. Like, nobody is trying to say that or do that. It's just the fact of the matter is that he was black. What makes it matter is because it has been systematically, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Imposed. Like, it is, y'all made sure to make sure that everyone had this mental image of Jesus as white. That's why it matters, because it's like, why did you do that? The reasoning behind that is what matters, because they didn't want you, black person that I'm talking to see yourself associated with deity, okay? So that's there. So let me move into, like, going into more of my current spiritual beliefs. So how I went from Catholicism, not that I was ever like Catholic, but I could relate to some teachings of Catholicism. So how I went from that to kind of like where I am now. So the shift kind of started to happen for me when I read this book by, what's her name? Let me see if I can find it on my, it's called Battlefield of the Mind. I want to say it's Joyce Myers. I'm pretty sure it's Joyce Myers. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself in the description box. But I read this book called Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers, and that book completely changed the way that I thought about God. And what I mean by that is, before, when I was younger, I always thought of God as like a granter of wishes, like a magic genie or a punisher, It was always one of the other, like, oh, God, like, can I do, will you make this? Or, God, I'm sorry. God, like, I'm terrible. I'm this, and this. Like, I'm so unworthy to even be in your presence right now. Like, I'm so ashamed of myself because of a mistake that I made, that humans make. Like, we are humans. Humans are going to make mistakes. So if you are in that area, just to pause for a second, if you're in that area of your life where you just feel like so unworthy and you feel like you've done things that cannot be forgiven, you can be forgiven. Like, you have to forgive yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, granted, depending on what you may have done, like, there are steps that you have to do not to be forgiven, because forgiveness starts with you. You know what I'm saying? There are things that can be done to help heal the person that you may have hurt if it involves another person. There are things that you can do that you can do to try to, like, rectify what you've done. But as far as, like, forgiveness, like, and this is something that the book taught me, forgiveness starts with you. Like, I believe during this time period, God is love and God is forgiving. Like, he's almighty, he's forgiving. And in Christianity, it's always said Jesus died for your sins. Like, he knew that you were going to sin. He knew that you were going to do something wrong. Now, this doesn't mean that you just use that mercy like a credit card and you just keep doing the things that you was doing over and over because it's like, oh, I'm already forgiven. But what I'm saying is, when you do something and you, like, really are remorseful, genuinely want to be better and do better from whatever it is you may have done, like, you are forgiven and you don't have to. I don't know. I'm not even gonna get too deep into that. Like, let me just keep moving on. Anyway, I read this book and it just really taught me about like being present in your mind, being aware of the negative thoughts that are in your mind, being aware of the things that you are holding like in yourself, and what you are portraying God to be. And a lot of us portray God to be those things, a granter of wishes or a punisher. And it's like, that's not who he is. And during that time, I learned something else. So the next thing that I did that kind of helped shift my current spiritual beliefs was I watched a documentary called Hidden Colors. And somebody actually put me onto that documentary, so shout out to him, but you know who he is. Anyway, so I watched that documentary and it was very enlightening. Like, it just changed my life. So it's a 4-part documentary. Like, most people only watch the first one, but I searched the internet and found all 4 and watched all 4 of them. And they talked a lot about pretty much just racism and how deep racism really is and what the core of racism really is. And that's, where I learned the historical measurements that have been taken to portray Jesus as white. That's when I learned a lot of that information. And in watching that, I mean, it's really great. Highly recommend that if you get a chance to watch it. Like, I'll watch that and read the book by Joyce Myers. But anyway, during that experience, because it definitely was an experience, watching that documentary, I realized that God was within me. And that's something else that's taught in Christianity, but I actually felt it in a different way. And I feel like, we have a lot of ways of portraying that inner goodness of us. In TV shows, it's the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder. Or it's your, some people call it your subconscious, the voice in your head, etc., etc. And I realized that, have you guys ever said to yourself, like, or just like that, I said to myself, or another example I heard like somebody using this phrasing was, I was listening to Oprah's Super Soul Conversations, and one of her guests had said when he was about to commit suicide, he said to himself, like, I can't live with myself like this anymore. And he said the thing that stopped him, that struck him in that moment, was he realized, he said, I can't live with myself like this anymore, because you're living with yourself. It implied that it was 2 different people. So it was like, well, who is I and who is myself? And that's when you realize that, I know that everybody has had moments where they feel like they're debating themselves. They're in internal conflict, because that's what it is, internal conflict. That's you fighting, what I feel like, you fighting the God in yourself. And, ooh, that was good. That was good. You fighting the good in yourself. The God in yourself. And the good in yourself. I mean, God is good. And good is God. So, anyway, that's kind of where I got that at that moment. And I learned to stop associating God with a mental image of a white man. Like, that's not doing me no good, because I feel like Jesus was like a very crucial and important piece of history and ideology, spirituality, religion, clearly. But the thing for me was, I kind of, in my current spiritual beliefs, I don't really pray to Jesus anymore. Whereas in Christianity, that's kind of what you do, in Jesus' name, I hold, and let me add right here, in discovering my current spiritual beliefs, I went through a lot of different religions. I studied a lot of different religions. I studied a lot of different ideologies. Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, like, they were all, well, I can't even say that, because I was going to say they were all monotheistic, but they weren't. But in that, I feel like my spiritual belief kind of embodies a little bit of all of that and what makes sense to me. Because ideally, I feel like, and this is what I'm going to get into, we're all believing in the same damn thing. But anyway, wow, I really just rambled and lost my train of thought. Okay, I remember what I was saying. So about kind of like how I hold Jesus in my heart. I feel like in Islam, that Jesus, I think that he was a reverend. I think he was a prophet. And I think that he came here to work miracles and to show people love and to show people the right thing. But I just don't feel like the intention was for us to worship him. And, I don't know. That's just my belief. And so I started to focus on God himself and then the God within me. And see, even then, himself, like, who said it wasn't him? When you take Jesus out of it, because a lot of us, at least for me, I associated Jesus with God. Like, they was just right there and it was the same thing to me. Like, and it was like, because I had associated Jesus with a white man, I associated God with the white man with long white hair, And so I had to delete that mental picture of a human being that with my capabilities and with my, I just had to let that go altogether. And so it felt easier for me to say the universe instead of saying God. And the reason being is because for 20 years I have a mental image in my mind of God, and it's limiting to what he is. Even, you know what I'm saying, right now. But when I say the universe, I don't attach it to any pronouns. And I guess that's, like I said, we're all doing the same thing. I feel like at the core, we are all trying to be connected back to the source, to a source. And we just all call it different things. I mean, I think that we are all looking for presence and consciousness and peace through whatever different means that we may get it. And it was not easy for me to kind of come to terms with my new spiritual beliefs, because I always felt when I was younger I had like this huge fear, like, of going to hell. And I mean, that's really what they teach you, to be so fearful of going to hell. Do the right thing so this bad thing doesn't happen to you. Do the right thing so this bad thing doesn't happen to you. But does that really get to the core of the goodness in someone? Like, I don't know, like, negative reinforcement, I guess. But that's pretty much where I am. Like, I just feel like I believe in the universe. I use terms like energy, vibes a lot, where I feel like in Christianity they say things like spirits. And I don't know. Honestly, I feel more deeply connected to the source, to God, the universe, now than I ever have before. Because even though I don't always listen to that intuition, to the God in me, I can hear it. I can hear it. And that comes from being present in the moment, meditation, having time like to yourself to really just be. I mean, I feel like now I'm starting to just sound high. And I might be just starting to sound high. But that's just what makes sense to me. That's just kind of where I'm at. I feel like my spiritual beliefs are still coming up. Like, I feel like as life goes on, of course, I'll believe more things and they'll change and adapt. But for right now, that's just kind of what I believe. I believe that the universe is everything and everything is me. And the same energy that is flowing through this world. Because think about, I think the key to what I'm saying about my spirituality, like I said, is just being present in the moment. In this very moment that you're watching this video, that I'm talking to this camera, that there are a million, bajillion, zillion things happening. There are people all over the world that are in this moment with you, and something is happening to their lives that's as impactful to your life right now. And all that is good and orderly in the world, the rain falling and watering the grass in your front yard, and the sun coming out to evaporate it. And that cycle, like that invisible cycle, the order of photosynthesis and the order of homeostasis in your body, and the order of everything, all the coincidences that you've seen in your life, all of that energy. Now take all of that, and there are billions of suns and solar systems just like ours. And think about how in that regard, how small you are, but how big you are at the same time. How big life is to you. And everybody's life is like that. Like, that's the source that's controlling all of that is bigger than a white man with a long white beard. And so that's why I just refer to that source for me as the universe. But the source, whatever it is, and I've said this in many prayers, I hope I don't offend you by calling you the wrong name. But when that worship is genuine, and worship might be like a Christian term, that intention, that energy is pure and genuine and receiving, ready to receive, I don't think the source cares what you call it. It's just finding healing for yourself. Like, I'm trying to think, was there anything else that I was about to say? But yeah, I just believe in the universe. That energy, that magnificence is running through me because there are millions of skin cells on my body just made for me. And the way that my face is put together and how many hairs I got on my head and the way that I sweat when I'm hot and I shiver when I'm cold. Like, I was made to be exactly who I am. Like, there was time and dedication put into me. That energy flows within me, and I feel like I can, because the source is within me, have whatever I want in life if I listen to the source. And I mean, you put some different terminologies on that, and that pretty much make up a lot of religions. So those are my spiritual beliefs. I still got quite a bit of this left. I'm probably gonna hit it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want more videos like this, give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys' thoughts were as you was watching this. I would definitely love for this to be like a open discussion, open conversation. I really enjoy filming this. So I hope that you guys like stuff like this, because I could definitely film stuff like this more often. So yeah, I love you guys so much. And remember, in order to live your life to its fullest, you must live fearlessly. Bye, y'all.